Hi everyone, this is Yana, and today I'm going to share a Miss You card with a watercolored map background. This look reminds me of travel maps or, like Google Maps or a view that you get from a window on a plane when you're flying above the city. I think it's a perfect look for a Miss You card, and it's very easy to achieve too. I will be using a new product from Hero Arts in Basic Gray, and you can find links to this and other products that I use below in the video description and also on my blog. So here I have a large city map background. It's a cling background stamp from Basic Gray, and also a clear stamp set with sentiments from Studio Calico. Now this one is an older set, but I just love it so much, especially that banner. I'm going to combine these two together. There is, however, an additional very cool clear set from Basic Gray in the Second City collection. I love that circle with a city line. I think it's very cool and modern. I think that this set is going to work better for travel journals or layouts, as you have these like you and me stamps, adventure, this and that, and also the little camera stamp. I'm also going to use a few daubers from Hero Arts, and I've made myself a quick color palette with all the colors that I own, and I thought that the neon blue, forever green, green hills, and also the wet cement would be perfect to color this map. You can use other colors. I think that the Coppa Joe would add a nice touch of brown, and the Tide Pool would be very cool to mix in with the blues for the body of water. Now, other than this, I'm also going to use the gold embossing powder and the clear embossing ink. I'm going to begin working on my card by heat embossing my map background on a piece of watercolor cardstock. I'm using a smooth side of my cardstock, as this stamp is a rather detailed one, and I want to make sure that it's going to stamp nicely. You can see that I've taped it down. I've seen people do that to prevent paper from curling. I probably did something wrong because that didn't work for me. I think I need to try this with a wooden board. What I had here was a broken platform from a die cutting machine, so that did not work. Now, the reason I chose watercolor paper for this card is because I wanted to add lots of liquid ink from the daubers to color my map, and also because I knew I was going to add water to help the ink spread around the paper and also to dilute it down a bit to make it a little bit less saturated. So I inked my stamp with a clear sticky ink. You can use slow drying pigment ink for this as well, and then stamped it onto my watercolor paper. Normally, if my paper wasn't taped down, I would put the paper on top of the stamp and use my brayer to apply even pressure, as that's how I like to stamp with background stamps. But for this card, since the paper was taped down, I had to pick up the stamp and press it down with my fingers. I then added the gold embossing powder from Hero Arts and heat set it until it melted. Now, that plastic that I used there to tape my paper did not melt, but I do think that it would be much better and much smarter, actually, to use the wooden surface for this, for taping your paper down and making sure it doesn't curl. Now, after my embossing was done, I used my spray bottle and sprayed my watercolor paper with just clear water. I wanted the paper to be wet before I added any ink, so that the ink would not just go directly inside the paper, but would travel a bit and spread on my paper. Next, I started my coloring. First I used the neon blue dauber and colored the top left part of my map. Basically, I was just following the lines of the heat embossed image and had it divided. Like in my head, I had it divided into blocks. So a blue block for a body of water, a green one for a park or for a residential area, and then a gray one for an industrial area. I hope this makes sense. So I'm just going for like a typical map look here. Now, notice that I applied the color in two different ways. First, I was just tapping my dauber on my paper on that left top corner, and then I used the dauber as a paintbrush and just went back and forth with it, sort of like how you would go when painting or coloring a large area with a brush. Next, I'm moving to the green color, and I'm first using the green hills color. It actually looks a bit too bright, so I'm going to change it later with the help of a second green. And I'm also adding it to the three areas on my map. I'm trying to create a visual triangles with my colors here. Next, I'm coming in with a very dark green. It's the Forever Green color. You can see the huge difference in color here. That green hills looks a lot brighter. Now, to remove some of the color from the top area and also to make the middle green area a little bit darker, I'm using a large flat paintbrush. So I'm just picking the color from the darker area and moving it to a lighter area with my brush. And by using a brush, I can also make sure I stay within the lines of my map and only add color to the areas that I want. It's a little harder to do that with daubers since they have a round applicator. Now, to remove even more color, I'm cleaning my brush. Sorry, I'm doing that off screen. I have a cup with clean water there. Use a paper towel to dry my brush a bit and continue picking up the color where I think I have too much of it. And then I'm moving to my last color, which is this wet cement. Again, first I'm tapping to add lots of color to my paper and then using my finger to spread it around. You can use a smaller paintbrush for this, but I sometimes just want to be a little kid and paint with my fingers. I would not recommend doing this on large open areas as you actually might leave your fingerprints there. So, just keep that in mind. It's okay to do this here since it's such a detailed background and also because it's embossed. So really, I can't have any fingerprints left in this background. I'm going to use a paper towel and just soak up some of the extra water and some of the extra color that I have on some of the areas. I'm also going to add a bit more water by spritzing my paper a few more times so that the ink is going to travel even more. I can keep going like this and adding more color if I want to. After I'm happy with the result, I'm going to set it aside and let it dry. You can use your heat tool to speed it up, but be careful not to melt your embossing powder. I left mine for about 30 minutes to dry. I also created one more background, just an identical one, as I wanted to have two on my card to create an illusion of a folded map. I'm going to adhere my first background directly to my card base, and this is an A2 top folding card. Now, I haven't trimmed my paper yet, so I'm going to use my scissors and trim it after I adhere to my card base. Now, before I add my second background, and that one I had trimmed about 1/2 inch smaller than my card base so that I would have a 1/4 inch border, I'm actually going to use a silver shimmer spray ink from Hero Arts and will add some spots to my background. You need to shake this spray ink before you use it so that you mix the ink with the shimmer at the bottom of the bottle. So be sure to do that. I'm then going to unscrew the top and use the sprayer part, I'm not sure what's the proper name of it, to add little drops to my background. I'm going to soak most of them up with a paper towel, but some will still be left on my background, plus I'll have a bit of a shimmer there too. Now, you can use a paintbrush and dip it into the bottle and lightly tap on it to add drops to your background, or use a paintbrush to color in some of the areas like I'm doing here. I'm coloring in some of the circles on my map. Now, this silver ink is going to be mostly visible on the light areas on my map, so basically just on the blue parts. The other parts will only show the shimmer from the ink. After I'm once again happy with my background, I'm going to use foam adhesive and adhere my second watercolored background on top of the first one, which is already adhered to my card base. Like I said before, I want to have a folded map type of look, so that's why I'm layering two identical backgrounds on top of each other. Now, for my sentiment, I used this stamp that I showed you at the beginning of this video and basically just heat embossed it using the same gold embossing powder on white cardstock. I then cut it out with my scissors and adhered it to my card with multi-matte medium. I added the adhesive just to the central part of the sentiment as I wanted to have a bit of dimension there, and I had the ends of this banner curled up a bit. Finally, I added a little wooden gout tack and a few stars to my card and completed my project. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you're looking for a list of supplies to create this card, you can find it below in the video description or on my blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.